What is happening, y'all? It's Superlika2 here, and this is going to be the second installment of my 1 week later series. And in case you guys are new here, this is basically just a series where I give my general thoughts and opinions about a game that I've played for, well, 1 week. Basically talk about things that I liked about the game, any new discoveries that I've made, things that could have been improved upon, etc. In the previous entry of this series, I did a more scripted format, but for this one in particular, I'm going to be going unscripted for the most part and just have some topics of discussion that'll help guide my thoughts as we go along. So let me know if you prefer this format of discussing these games or if you like the more scripted format better. This series is pretty new, so any feedback is appreciated. At the end of the video, I will give the game a rating with spinies just because I figured it'd be fun to do it that way. And yeah, with that being said, let's just get right on into it. So when it comes to Mario Kart in particular, I figured it'd be best to start off with talking about the overall feel of the game, considering that we've been playing 8 and 8 Deluxe for the past decade or so. So making the jump from that game to this one is definitely noticeable. I wouldn't say it's completely polarizing by any means, but just know that a lot of the strategies that were good in 8 Deluxe probably aren't going to suffice here now. The game is only a week old, so people are still trying to figure out what's good, what isn't, and trying to devise what are some of the best strategies that can be employed in online play and such. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that evolves as time goes on. But as of right now, I can say that the game feels pretty great. The game in general is a lot faster paced compared to 8 Deluxe. So steering and handling can be a bit tricky to get a hold of, but the controls themselves are pretty responsive, and the gameplay itself is super smooth. With the Switch 2 being a beefed up Switch 1 essentially, there are no frame drops to be seen whatsoever, aside from cases where you may be playing on, say, a 4K monitor, from what I've heard, but those are pretty anecdotal and that'll vary from person to person. But for me, who is playing on a 1080p monitor, the game runs fantastically. I have no complaints about how the game runs whatsoever. Everything is just top notch in terms of that. I like a lot of the new tricks and techniques that they've added to the game, such as the charge jump, where if you're driving in a straight line and you hold the R button, or the button that you use for drifting, then you can do a little hop, and then you can either hop on rails, hop on walls, or you can literally just jump on top of people as well. And it definitely adds a whole new layer of complexity to how you approach racing. I myself am still trying to figure out what the best use cases are for this technique, but I definitely feel like there's a lot of potential that's yet to be tapped. So when it comes to that, the gameplay experience in that department has been superb, which leads me into the overall look of the game. And I just gotta say, this game looks absolutely gorgeous. Of course, being on the Switch 2, it's the best looking Mario Kart has ever looked, and a lot of the environments and the characters just look so good. There's just so much life that has been put into this game, noticeably with a lot of the characters, as they feel a lot more lively and expressive compared to past entries, and it really does wonders for this game and adds a whole lot of charm to it that I feel like the past Mario Karts were not necessarily lacking in, but definitely could have used a bit more of. So I am glad that they are taking this new direction, not only in terms of the characters' designs, but just the overall feel of the game. of course, all the tracks look fantastic as well. Everything looks just super high res, high quality, and it's just I was just kind of in awe when I was playing through a lot of these tracks and just seeing how far we've come from, I guess if we were talking about my era specifically, ever since the Mario Kart Wii/DS days, and the Mario Kart 7 as well. I'll throw that in there since that was technically my first full-on Mario Kart. And don't even get me started on this game's OST, because man, this has got to be the greatest. You know what? I'm just gonna say it outright. I think this might just be the greatest Mario soundtrack I've ever heard throughout all the games. And maybe that is a bit of cheating, but there's over 200 plus tracks in this OST, and all of them are either new arrangements or remixes of past songs throughout the Mario series. And you would think with this many tracks that the quality would dip at some point, but just listening to each and every one of these that I've heard so far, the quality has been there like consistently. There wasn't really a track that I listened to that I felt like was either not that great or could have been better. Like, they all just sounded fantastic, and a lot of them are arranged in different genres of music as well, which was also a nice surprise. And just the selection of tracks as well. Like, there were some tracks that I had no idea they would pick for this whole OST that just randomly popped up and got me so excited. I guess a couple examples would be Buoy Bass from Mario Galaxy, the Super Mario 64 file select theme. That one instantly got me in the feels, man. That was such a nostalgia trip. Gotta be one of my favorite tracks, one of my favorite Mario tracks of all time. So hearing a new rendition of that was just, it just did wonders, man. But I can go on all day about the OST. It is just absolutely immaculate. For sure the best in the entire Mario Kart series, and at bare minimum top 3 in the entire franchise, because like it's just so hard to really top something like this. Like, it is all just so beautiful. Now that I've gushed about the music, I can definitely go on to talk about the tracks, which are probably the main highlight for any Mario Kart game. And I'd say the overall track selection in this game is pretty solid overall. I enjoy a lot of the tracks in this game. There's only a few that really stick out to me like a sore thumb. Moo Moo Meadows, Mario Circuit. But yeah, all of them are pretty great. I don't really mind playing on any of them. They all feel pretty good to play on, and at least this is just coming from a more casual perspective when it comes to playing Mario Kart. I'm not too into like each of the specific shortcuts and routes and how those are formulated and how those translate to how a track is perceived as good, but I just think for the average player, the average person just picking up this game and playing it, you're gonna have a blast, especially with the fact that this game now has 24 players total that can be in a race instead of 12 prior, which I've realized now, especially while playing, is definitely a statement by Nintendo to showcase just how powerful the Switch 2 is compared to its predecessor. And it just kind of amazed me how smooth everything ran, in spite of the fact there were 24 players. And that includes the online as well. I figured there would be a lot more lag and latency issues with 24 people in one lobby, but at least so far from my experience, that has not cropped up whatsoever. And of course, with 24 players, things are definitely bound to get a lot more chaotic, and they are, but I feel it's chaotic in a way that doesn't really hamper my experience of playing the game, though maybe that's just me still in awe about just the whole concept of there being 24 player Mario Kart, rather than me analyzing it through just a fundamentally sound perspective. Knockout Tour is another one of the new modes they added. It's a great addition, in my opinion. I haven't played too much of it, to be honest. It's probably my least or second least played of the modes. Battle mode is definitely my least played so far, but from what I've played of Knockout Tour, it is definitely a lot of fun, and I can certainly see myself trying to, you know, improve at it, get better at it, and try to get that top mark consistently. So I'm glad that it's here. And I suppose the last thing I'll talk about is, of course, the free roam. That is at least one of the big things that Nintendo has been pushing in terms of what makes Mario Kart World stand above the rest, or at least apart from the rest. And I gotta say, I was thoroughly surprised with how much stuff there was to do in free roam, more so in regards to the P-switches, because those little missions that you do whenever you push the P-switches were actually a lot more fun and creative than I thought they were going to be. And there are so many of them as well. Like, at least from my experience, I've only gotten about 150 of them, but apparently there's upwards, like, close to near 400, which is insane to me, but a lot of them have been a lot of fun to try out and decently challenging as well in some regards. And because they did provide that little bit of challenge, it was pretty satisfying whenever I was able to pull off some of the harder techniques that the game tries to teach you. It's a great way to learn about the new mechanics of the game and also just kind of relax from the hecticness that is the online or perhaps just the regular Grand Prix modes. I can definitely understand the criticisms of there not being enough content to do in free roam, or also the fact that there isn't really a good way to track the P-switches and peach coins that you get throughout the world. And I certainly hope they add some way to track those in the future through maybe some sort of update. But aside from that, the free roam has been a pleasant experience because you get to see the whole interconnected world that they created, and it just kind of fleshes things out a whole lot more when it comes to, I guess, just Mario Kart in general. And I guess I'll trail back to the tracks in this regard because that was another point of contention between people, and that is the intersections that you would race on in between courses before you got to the actual tracks themselves. And at least in my opinion, I actually find these to be pretty enjoyable, and they do add another layer to a lot of these tracks as a whole, because you get to see like the gradual build up and the change in environment to a lot of these like iconic tracks, and it just makes the whole world that they created feel a lot more, I guess, lived in a sense. And it's just another thing that adds to the charm and personality that this game is just absolutely abundant in. But with that being said, I guess I should talk about the elephant in the room. Is this game truly worth the $80 price tag that Nintendo believes it is worth? And in my honest opinion, I just don't think so. Only because there are just some things from prior games that I feel could have been added to this game, but I feel like World is not too far off from being potentially the best Mario Kart game. There's just some aspects of it that can be seen as a little lacking, but the general gameplay is a whole lot of fun. It's fresh, it's brand new, it's exciting, and there is definitely a lot of, you know, room for experimenting when it comes to figuring out the game, and it could lead to some potentially interesting future tracks that they may add through DLC, because I'd be very surprised if this game doesn't get DLC in some form. However, I will say if you are able to get a Nintendo Switch 2 that is bundled with the game, then I would 100% recommend it in that regard. Because the value that you get for the bundle is just so much better than just simply buying the system and then buying the game standalone. Even if it is digital, which I know that's people's main gripe about it, mine as well, but I genuinely think this is like one of those cases where you might have to just kind of take the sacrifice and go for the bundled version, because just saving those extra $30 is very much appreciated. And I mean, if you were planning to get a Switch 2 during this time frame, one of the reasons you were going to get it for is likely Mario Kart World. So that's why I would just recommend getting the bundle more than anything. But that aside, what would I rate Mario Kart World after playing it for 1 week? Well, I'd say I'd give it about 4 Spinies out of 5. Because so far I'm having an absolute blast with the game. I'm very excited to learn all the new techniques, all the different routes and shortcuts, and just have a blast with my friends as well, because that's also been a huge factor in my enjoyment of the game as well. But with that, I think this will conclude the second installment of the 1 week later series. Let me know what your guys' thoughts on Mario Kart World is in the comment section down below. Are there any things that you really enjoy about the game? Anything that you think could be improved upon? Just let me know, and I'm definitely interested in hearing other people's opinions and takes about this game. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and consider subscribing to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time. Take care, y'all.